Well, I don't know how many of you have experienced this new high-tech soda machine they're putting in all the fast food restaurants. But we went to Wendy's yesterday, and there was this little Meemaw in front of us getting her junior burger and her Coke. And she went over to the new Coke machine. And it's like a computer screen, touch screen, and it has like 15 choices. You know, there's one thing I say about the American public. They're not always real smart, and they don't make up their mind very easy. They don't need lots of choices. And she stood there, and she put her cup in. She couldn't figure out how to get the ice first. Then she started pressing that screen, trying to figure out what she wanted. And you know, you press Diet Coke, and 10 more come up. Because there's Diet Coke with lemon, there's Diet Coke with lime, there's cherry Diet Coke and vanilla Diet Coke, and it never ends. And she just stood there with her mouth open trying to figure out what she wanted. And by the time she was ready to punch what she wanted, the screen went back to the first screen to start over. Well, about that time, a line has started to form, and people are in a hurry, and she's still up there pressing buttons, poor thing, bless her heart. But she finally kept trying, and she was pressing on Diet Coke, looking at the cup for the Coke to come out, and she didn't even see there's a big chrome button right in front of her eyes that said push, and she never did it. And I didn't want to get involved because, you know, sometimes people get mad when you do that. And finally, she just gave up. And she got the iced tea next to the Coke machine. Then there's the lid dispenser. You know, they've got, whoever invented that ought to be tarred and feathered. Because they have this big tall lid dispenser, and the small lids are on the top. And the people that are drinking those little drinks are not very big. She could hardly reach up there, and she kept reaching and reaching. And the other thing I didn't want to tell her was Wendy's does not have small drinks anymore. They have medium, large, and extra large. And those small lids only fit those little bitty Frosties for kids. Because I figured that out the hard way too. And she pulled out a small lid finally. Well, 3 or 4. You can't pull one lid out of those. When you pull one out, 5 of them come tumbling down. All over their lids, all over the counter, all over the floor. Meemaw had one stuck to the bottom of her shoe. And she's standing there shuffling around trying to get the lid on. Finally, she figured out to get the next size lid, and 3 or 4 more fell out on the counter. And you know, that worries me because you know those kids at Wendy's, you know they're putting those lids back in there. I know how they are. I had a friend that worked there in high school and said, don't eat the chili because when they drop a hamburger, they toss it in the chili. He did. He told me that. And I know those lids, they're not throwing all those lids away. They're just picking them up and putting them back in there, so I don't use those lids. Then she got the lid on, and she started looking for a straw. Now they have the straws across the room with the ketchup. Now why do they do that? Someone at Wendy's is not thinking clear. They're just confusing all these old people. Anyway, we had that big line behind us. People were all mad. She was just trying to sit down and eat her junior burger. She had iced tea with no ice. I felt sorry for her, but you can't get involved with people these days because they get upset. Everybody wants to be independent.